Okay, so let's see what we can do with this log today. So for scale, I'm going to look at what we have here widthwise at its widest point. We've got 29 inches inside the bark.
Can I do try?
Yeah, it is, about 25 inside the bark.
Can
At the
I
butt
try?
end, yes, you can try it in a minute. And down here we've got 25 and 22.
Can I try? Can I try?
Sure, give it a try.
Okay. I just put that down and I put it right up.
Well, that works if you know how long your tape measure is.
Huh.
Yeah,
Like that a little bit too big.
good job.
This one is blue. Yes, sir. Do you want lemonade?
Sure. You got lemonade?
Yes. Right back there.
Well, go give me some. I'll buy some lemonade from you. Oh, you're getting some of that winch lemonade, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's some tasty stuff.
That.
All right, here's your money.
Thank
I'll
you.
take that lemonade.
It's a zero one.
Tasty good. Thank you.
Okay. Here's another. Here's another one. So we light up. Here you go, sir.
Oh, lady, here's some money.
Thank you. Here you
Shot.
go. Here you go.
Okay, so we're just going to open this up and just take a look and see what I'm going to do from there. Whether, thank you. Whether I'm going to be turning it to the sides, and I don't have a planer that can handle something this large. So I'm considering, since we have the pith right here and we've got a little bit of cracking on the outside of it, possibly just cutting this in half and doing sections off of it, since I think most of these are going to end up being cutting boards. So let's take a look. All right, Arlo, you got to go over there.
Over there?
Over there. Away from the chainsaw. So I just sharpened this right before I went to cut this log today. So let's take a look at what this looks like.
That's a...
Well, we're not out of the sapwood yet here on the top. What do you think, Mr. Supervisor?
Dad, this is great sawdust you got here.
That's great sawdust I've got there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad the sawdust impresses you. All right.
Take it off. Take it off.
Well, let's take another slice off it and see what it looks like. So I always like advice on what people think. For the black walnut, I'm thinking what kind of thickness to do here. And I've been cutting most of these at 2 inches. I'm drying nicely. That could be due partly to the hot, dry summer we had. So maybe I'll do 2 inches until we get through the sapwood. What do you guys think? Now don't all yell at once. Yeah, I think I agree. That sounds good. All right. Beastly sharp chain. All right. All right, let's take a look at these two. So this is by far the largest log that this saw has worked for me. On the inset to this particular sawmill, I've still got a set of dogs right there with about 2-inch teeth. And then we have the set for the saw, so we start cutting about 4 inches away from the power head. I don't know if you can see that right there. And then this bar is not really staying true to this frame assembly at the far end when I'm pushing it hard. It's doing a pretty good job. Could be operator error. I'll accept that. But I understand now why people use the larger ones for the 36-inch bars. And this is only coming out 8 to 10 inches on that side. So let's take a look at this pair. And ooh, that is much heavier than I expected. So we're getting close to roof sawing over here. And the pith is right there, down about 3 inches. But it's much further down here at probably 5 to 6 inches. Let's take a look there. So the center of the pith is at 5 inches on this side. And 3 1/4 inches on that side. So what to do, friends, what to do? I don't know that I'd really need any stock thicker than 2 inches. And this is just a beast of a log. So this is actually really rough in through this section here, but it's not over there. So I must be doing something as I'm milling that's causing these ridges. Maybe I'm working the saw too much from the side. I'm not sure, but you can see lots of ridges, very little ridges. Maybe the wood pressure from above and below is stabilizing the blade as it passes through. I normally use wedges, but this is, now let's see exactly. This is 30 inches long at its longest point. Looks like the bottom is about 28 inches. So I don't think there's enough weight there for wedges. Oh, we've got some rot right there. Let's throw some water on these and see what they look like. All right. Might as well take my gloves off. This is gonna get wet. Well, I'd say that looks pretty good. Too bad the rest of the tree wasn't burned, but Oh, I don't think the camera is doing justice to the colors I'm seeing here. That green is what it's like when it's wet, and it will fade into a darker color. This down here has already been exposed to air. This log, to the best of my knowledge, has been on the ground at the very least for 2.5 years before I got hold of it. So, oh, that looks nice. You know what? I feel like splashing this one too. Let's see what it looks like. On second thought, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this before I get water on it, because I really don't want to stand in the slipperiness down there at the end after I've watered these guys. So let's go for another cut and see what we come up with. Fell over in the grass. You're not drinking on me, are you? Anyway, while you were laying over here in the grass, we got the next slab cut. And all right, so we've got a bunch here. I am definitely cutting too thick on my outside edge. I'm set to 2 and I'm consistently cutting at 2.5. Yeah, so I'm creating wedges here. Oh, but beautiful wedges. Planer will take care of that. I don't think anybody's going to be getting any of this wood but me, except in the form of cutting boards. These beautiful cutting boards. All right, let's see what happens when we throw some water on these two bad boys. It is about freezing right now. Fortunately, I've got a frost-free hydrant. I think it might be a little bit warmer than that. It's about 34. So let's take a look. I can get this without a reflection in it. It's just Beautifully quarter sawn. There's just a little bit of figure in this. Some of this one, I think I'm going to have to cut the pith out of, because you can see the, well, I can see it. I don't know if you can. You can see the immature wood right here. And it's got a crack. Probably will split all the way up the middle if I left it. But I doubt I will. Let's take a look over here. So our bark is coming off nicely. Good. But some of the bark on the other side doesn't seem like it's ever going to come off. So I guess we'll just leave the bark on. Yeah, this is sapwood and some bark here. Look at all the sawdust that's already back on these other logs. Ah, this is nice. This is very nice. I don't know exactly what's wrong with my setup. Possibly I have bent the bar. It is causing this outside edge to be a ½ inch thicker. Could be that it's just lack of support. But now that I've upgraded to the larger saw, I have a mouse who gets the cookie situation here. So the next thing is the larger mill. Of course, the larger mill will support larger trees. I'm already working on that with the lift and the hoist. But then where do I put it? Well, let's get some more slabs off and we'll save the contemplation for another time. I actually held off finishing this video for a couple of days. We've been way below freezing, and I wanted to get you guys a good look at what this wood turned out looking like. As you can see, we still got quite a bit of frost on the wood where the sun hadn't gotten to it. This was sitting over here, flipped around the opposite direction, so all of this has been thawed out by the sun. Today this is going to get stacked. But before I do, I wanted to square off this end that goes through the pith and attempt to get a count of how old this tree was. The log I originally got permission to go and pick up was, when I measured it, it was 25 inches at the top, this section here that had been cut to a point by somebody being quite messy, and to the other end, which was laying where they built the bonfire and burned it, was 9.5 feet long, with the small end being about 24 inches inside the bark. So from the Doyle calculator that I was using, that was a really substantial log that was burned, and I did not see any knots, defects on it. I would not call it veneer grade, but it was really close. So I'd like to show you guys what the color is before the drying, and I'm going to square up this edge and see what we can get for a ring count. And back in just a minute. Well, I don't think I did that nearly as straight as I originally intended. That wood is definitely frozen all the way through. So let's take a planer to it and see how it turns out. So after planing, we have incredibly small rings here.
Why do you have water?
This was grown in deep shade, and I'm going to need some water. We have much wider rings in a couple of the spaces here, but we use some water, even though it's pretty cold out here, and see what we can get out of this.
Can I try?
Thank you. So I'll get a count on this as close as I can, and we'll see how old this tree was. Okay, so unexpectedly, I have got the ring that would be probably 2 away from the center of the pith on my right hand side. And stopping looks to me like 2 rows from the outside. We would call this 13.5. And honestly, they are just too fine for me to be able to count over a good portion of this here between 6 and 12. So I am going to go through here and count how many I can actually see per inch, and we'll go from there. But this is a really old tree. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. So this is not going to be a very accurate count. These lines are just too fine through this section here for me to be able to accurately represent them. But for the ones I can count for sure, between this section here and this section here, I've counted at least 99 rings. So there was probably 2 more in here, and I couldn't even tell you how many that I missed through this section here. So solidly a century tree. And someone burned the rest of it. That just makes me sad. Okay, well, that's it for today. Like I said a little bit ago, I don't know if it actually is going to end up in the edit, but our next project is going to be to cut down a mulberry. Rather, cut up a mulberry. It's been down already for 2 years, sitting over here, and we're going to get a look at the orange wood that's inside a mulberry. So we're going to find a good use for this century tree. We're going to get him stacked up, and he has a friend, probably a progeny of this tree, about 20 feet away from where this tree was, that came down in a storm last year and is now over a pretty good sized ravine, probably about chest deep on me, and I'm over 6 foot tall. So it's going to be a fun time getting him out, but we'll see just how good that wood is. All right, I'll see you on the next video.